welcome to America. The stars get leeway. It's funny because people are always like, yeah, in sports this happens. I'm like, no, man. If you work at the local Toyota dealership and you sell more cars than anybody else on the lot, guess what, man? You get more leeway.
We've been kind of following the story with him ever since the whole Pacers incident, and just tracking it to where we are now, to where I would say he's indefinitely suspended just due to what he did on IG Live, brandishing a weapon on that social media platform at a strip club. And now we have the NBA investigating that. I remember just texting Matt, just seeing the Indiana Pacers incident, and there was really no reaction very little reaction on social media and through mainstream media until we're out now. So what is kind of your overall thoughts to this whole situation with Ja Morant?
Yeah, first off, I'm with you guys. I think everybody's with you guys in being fans of him. It's hard not to be a fan of him. He's the most, frankly, I've been saying for a while now, he's the one guy who makes me stop on League Pass and just watch for a while. Mm-hmm. He is so dynamic, so entertaining as a player, so athletic, look, once a game, you end up like a Tex Avery cartoon where your jaw just drops to the ground. You're like, holy cow, you can do and that said, it's interesting. He hasn't officially been suspended yet. He's away from the team, which, look, I was at the Pistons-Clippers game for a while last night and tried to get this out of them. And the impression I get is he's away from the team, meaning he's not suspended, meaning his pay doesn't stop yet. So it'll be interesting to see how the league handles that. If they suspend him, obviously that would be without pay, and they're investigating. So we'll see where it goes. It's been kind of surprising how fast this took off, partially because the video goes viral, right? And we're kind of there wasn't really video of the Pacers incident. Anything with video, it's like Draymond punching Poole, right? Oh, that's a bad thing. That's not good. Oh, wow. We saw the video and everybody's suddenly, it's just different, right? Mm-hmm. I think the other part of this, though, internally for them this was a situation that had been building, right? Like there was the incident over the summer that he's being sued with the pickup game and the 17-year-old, the incident at the mall, the Pacer, like there'd been this, and there'd been but not just internal conversations like the Grizzlies talking to each other. There had been conversations with Ja about this, but the conversations and the mentoring that they were kind of trying to do didn't work. So they already were kind of thinking we got to come in. And then I think with the video and the way that took off on a Saturday morning, really messing up my ability to just sit there and watch the Premier League. Just when it took off like that, I don't think they had a choice but to step in. And I still think, look, I think 2 games was nice, but I think it's going to be fair to say, even Taylor Jenkins was saying this, hinting at this last night, it's going to be more than 2. It could be a considerable amount of time. They've got 17 games left. Like that's what they've got to get him back and get a little bit of focus before the playoffs. Because you're with me, guys, right? This was supposed to be a deep run for them.
Absolutely. 1,000%. Kurt, are you surprised that there hasn't been more, I guess, forceful and outright action taken by the NBA front office in this case? I mean, of course, we know investigations are ongoing. Yeah. There's a lot that we don't know. I mean, a lot of people have been making the David Stern comparison with the Gilbert Arenas situation. I mean, 2 very different situations in some respects, but does it surprise you that it sort of felt like it was handed over to the Grizzlies to take care of initially, and then we're waiting kind of to see if that bigger hammer drops, as you mentioned?
I think 2 things here. I think you're right. First off, the situation's different. If this happened in an NBA locker room, it would be different. I think the other difference is just you mentioned the names. David Stern is a little more emotional, a little bit of dictator's a strong word, but maybe not wholly an appropriate style of management, right? He's an old school, my word is law type of manager.
Yeah.
Who would come down hard in these kind of situations. And he also was dealing with a different perception. I mean, right now, in the 80s, there was 70s and 80s in particular, there was fears about the rampant drug use among players and blah, all that. And
yeah, different perception. Yeah.
Right. It's very different perception as opposed to the stars now who are like Steph Curry is as squeaky clean as it gets. Giannis is pretty much as squeaky clean as it gets. Little rougher edges maybe around LeBron, but not like he's never been arrested. He married his guy's whole sweetheart. He's a good dad. He built a school. Like the other part of it is just Silver is not only a consensus builder as a person, but he's a lawyer by both training and just personality and thought. Like he gets his ducks in a row before he moves. He doesn't make rash decisions. So this is, I think this is more a model of that. This is more, he's going to try to coerce what he wants behind the scenes and get everything in a row before the league has to step in.
What do you make it the situation from a Grizzlies perspective? At this point, do you think the Grizzlies can be trusted to really mentor Ja, just not even from the basketball court, but just his life in general?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was some treading lightly there, right? This is still your star player. This is your 23-year-old star player who, welcome to America. The stars get leeway. And it's funny because people are always like, yeah, in sports this happens. I'm like, no, man. If you work at the local Toyota dealership and you sell more cars than anybody else on the lot, guess what, man? You get more leeway. And there's lines you can't cross. But in this case, I think that they are. But I think internally, just again, talking to people there yesterday, and Taylor Jenkins was pretty upfront about this. They see it as a learning opportunities. They see this as a chance to kind of right the ship. Reporting came out today. I think Shams had it that they'd had a team meeting, and Steven had stood up in front and said, and he's traveling with them. He should be back on this. By the way, their slump started. You notice that when he went out? Like, it is not a coincidence that when the guy who did all the dirty work, who set the picks, who got the rebounds, who was kind of the enforcer out there was gone, suddenly they slumped a little. But he stood up in the meeting. He's like, man, we have to be more disciplined. And he is, by the way, if you haven't met him, outside of like just a massive human being, a disciplined guy. Like, he is not frivolous. He's got a great sense of humor, but he's not. He does things with intent. And I think he was trying to get through to them. I think that they see this as the chance to course correct that way. And so they're trying to do it. I think that that's how they're seeing it internally. If we get everybody back on the same page and pulling the rope in the same direction, to use a Spoelstra phrase, or whatever however you want to define that, then suddenly, yeah, I think that that's what they're seeing here. So I don't think they want to be the disciplinarian in this. In fact, they would probably prefer for the league to be the disciplinarian in this, just because then they don't have to be the bad guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want to create any sort of sense of bad will or anything like that, especially with your star player. Do you see...
Sells a lot of tickets, sells a lot of jerseys, man. It matters, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you see the Grizzlies? I mean, they've been so measured and methodical about building this team, building like this culture that they have that has been great, barring the past 2 months or so when these things started piling up. Do you see them having like an off season where they do try to make a move to signal to the rest of the league, or the front office, like bringing in a couple of veterans as people have been talking about?
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily related to this per se, right? Like, it's more like on the court, where are we short? We have built this team to a certain point where I think, first off, I mean, Ja's great, but you could use more play shot creation. I say that saying the flip side of that is Desmond Bane's just good. Like, Desmond Bane's really good.
Yeah.
And don't we all sleep on him a little bit as a quality number two? So, like,
true. But
in today's NBA, you cannot have enough shot creation, and I think that they're going to go out. They have a Ja's 5. The other part of this, Ja's 5-year extension kicks in next year. Everybody else is going to be following on the heels of that. If they're going to bring guys in, it's kind of now, right? If their owner, they're never going to pay the tax in a Steve Ballmer kind of pay the tax way, but if they're going to be will pay the tax because this team contends kind of way, their move is now. Next offseason, go get a couple of pieces to fit into this who are veterans, and let's make a run at this. So I think they were going to do that anyway. Now they may look at this and be especially thoughtful about trying to find the right character guys, the right fit guys, because you need somebody who you need a guy who can fit into that locker room now and come in and keep, I don't say keep everything in line, but a couple of strong veteran voices who are like, hey, let's not lose focus on this, like Steven Adams was trying to do, is helpful. And that's where, hey man, how long did Jared Dudley get to play in the league just being that guy? Like there's room for those guys in the league, man.